Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of the Constantly Calibrating podcast. It's interesting. We've been kind of like off the air for a little bit, but we were invited by Versus Evil to do a show here at PAX East. So let's kick it off. For those who don't know, I am Josh Silverman, co-founder of Constantly Calibrating. Joining with me, I got Dan Nichols, community manager of Adult Swim Games.
What's up, everybody?
Hello. We got Christine Marten, the smallest burb. Wait, what are we giggling about already?
Why
It's
not?
just accurate.
And then Derek Van Dyke of SDGC.
What's going on, everybody?
My brain just skipped like 5 beats there.
You know what? You were so taken aback by the lighthearted chuckling.
It's the lighthearted chuckling, and then honestly, you're just so dreamy over there. That's just like
It's the white shock in the hair.
It's just that little bit. It's like that Reed Richards, but except up top.
No,
instead of the sides.
it's that dark moment in his past when he really turned full anime. You know,
Oh, yeah.
something terrible happened, and now he has superpowers.
Student loan debts.
That's what it is. That's
He's
what it
one-third
is.
anime right now.
Yep, exactly. So, for those wondering, essentially this show, we are going to be talking about our main topic is kind of the ever-growing importance of small to medium content creators and how kind of, not so much phasing out, but how larger content creators are being seen in a as maybe not as important or different light as it once was. Kind of going to focus also on like being at an event and that experience, and also if this just goes for a while, random things about the event as well, about PAX East.
It's always going to end up being random when Josh is running things.
It's if anyone knows anything about constant calibrating, which I don't expect anyone to, it's random, it's rambling.
You know what?
Let's talk about the cryptids.
Yeah,
Cryptid? No,
personality always shines
Johnson's
through.
not here.
Yeah, exactly. Personality always shines through best when you let yourself go off the script. So
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So essentially, I think what we should start out with is what the hell is a smaller medium content creator? What do we mean when we say that? Dan was mentioning something about the term micro-influencers before we went live.
Yeah, there's a lot of really weird and fun terminology for how we're constantly trying to force people into little boxes, but there's basically this kind of split that's come around where people are finally starting to understand the importance of working with smaller influencers, smaller streamers, smaller broadcasters, whatever you particularly want to name them. But you know, it's that thing where, especially for me, like, broadcasters aren't numbers. Like, it's not about the viewer count, it's about who you are, what your community is about, and you know how passionate that community is about what you're doing. So it's a really interesting part of this whole streaming thing that we're all part of now, like we are right now on Twitch.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's very interesting because for the longest time you'd have these larger influencers and stuff like that, and everyone would be throwing products, whether it was the game industry or even outside the game industry. You throw products and all this thing, and you'd watch them put out these tweets or Instagram posts or what have you with this whatever it is, and it would just be a million people just rambling off some bullshit that has nothing to do with the thing, and you wonder, are sales going up, or is this actually being driven to people, or is it being ignored? But then you start noticing the more passionate communities and things of that nature, and suddenly, if I give this to a person with 1,000 followers, they have a higher percentage likelihood of having a passionate people. Do you guys agree with that?
I think broadly, I don't think it's just about the passion of their like fans and followers, because you see a lot of passion and dare I say fervor with a lot of the like largest influencers and streamers and the like. I think a lot of what it boils down to is there's usually a bit of a closer and more intimate relationship between a small like content creator or influencer or personality, what have you, and their audience, who generally is much more regular and much more like of a tight following.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if you're talking about, so let's say you've got Ace Combat coming out, right, which came out earlier this year, and you want to give review codes to that to some influencers and streamers and the like. Do you go to these giant streamers who don't, like, their audience and their style is not at all suited to your game? Or do you seek out small and medium-sized influencers with really, really tight followings, but who are also shown to be familiar with your game and can speak to the best parts of it? Like, if I was working with Bandai Namco, I'd certainly rather put that game with smaller influencers who can speak to that game specifically than somebody who's got millions of followers but is going to pick it up and be like, oh, wow, this is so weird and wacky, and like, that's not what you want for the demonstration of your game.
You see somebody get a game, you watch a big streamer just stream something on Twitch, and they'll straight up make the first comment right off the bat you'll hear is sometimes, this is not my usual thing, but hey, let's give it a shot. And it's just and I just sit there, I'm like, what the why does this person have this? Meanwhile, someone, let's say it's a turn-based strategy game and you're giving it to a person who only plays first-person shooters. Meanwhile, the people who are actually doing the turn-based strategy are just sitting there like, hi.
I could have spoken to this, and my audience would care more about what I have to say than this Fortnite streamer would have to say about.
I think the biggest thing for me with it is the best thing to do is to approach it with having a mix, right? Because there's still definitely a place for working with just people with large audiences, right? They have those large audiences for a reason, and if they're excited about working with you, then you should absolutely take advantage of that. But the way that I kind of think about it is you've got your few different tiers of people as far as size go, and they're looking for different things and different ways to engage. And my favorite thing is finding folks who are still in that kind of building phase, but are passionate about the game, like you were talking about. If we were doing 4X strategy, and there's 4X strategy streamers, they might be on the smaller side. But that if they get into your game, they're going to become a part of the community. They're going to start creating content. They're going to be involved in a capacity that the larger folks won't. And so, for me, I always look for opportunities where I can work with people where it's mutually beneficial, right? If I work with you, you're going to help grow my games community. I'm going to help grow your community, and we're all kind of in this thing together. More so than hey, we made a spreadsheet and we had a list of people by size, and now we're going to throw everybody a bunch of codes and hope for the best. It's I really like being able to find people that fit the game incredibly well, and I really like when I have an opportunity to kind of watch them grow alongside of the community. And so for me, it's it's a mix. You want a mixture of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Speaking to that, that's actually the reason why I'm at PAX at all this year, because I became involved with a community for a game called Mage Quit. And it's only 2 people on the team, and they don't have any kind of influencer managers, community managers, and I just became a part of the community. I played it for 2 years. I mean, I became so involved with the community that they brought me on board to start working with them.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you have those sometimes you have those rare opportunities where it's somebody will bring you on board to work for them or with them in a closer capacity, and you can give your feedback on the game. But then you got to also you have to make sure with any content creator that you're working with, because you were speaking about passionate content creaters, you always have to make sure what their passions are, because passions can be as negative as they are positive.
Oh, absolutely.
So you have to when you're working with content creators, it's really important to look at what they're speaking about, not just within their streams, but outside their streams, and how that's going to affect the content that you're putting.
Yeah.
How it's going to affect your game's identity in that way.
Yeah.
Well, I think something you see a lot. You don't see it as much in the game industry, because at this point we're more familiar with influencers still. That's been at least the small and medium-sized stuff and all those kind of things. It's been more prevalent, but with the outside stuff, outside gaming, you see a lot of just throwing stuff at a random influencer, and then it's suddenly, wait a second, this person's a horrible human being or something like that, because all they did is they just heard X person is famous, X person is well known, and suddenly you're getting a little rug dragged out from under you.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of why PAX is great, right? That's a lot of the reason why I travel to a lot of events, is because I get to meet people in person. When you meet people in person, it's very easy to gauge what type of person they are. To that point, with everyone that I've worked with, I always do the research, right? I always look up the accounts, I watch the streams, I get a sense of personality, and that gets riskier the smaller you get. The smaller in size you go, typically people don't follow someone if they're complete douchebags.
Sure.
There are rare exceptions. Most of those rare exceptions are already blacklisted somewhere. But it's it's definitely a responsibility of the people on our end working with games to have some sort of vetting process for that.
Yeah.
Well, the nice thing is those exceptions you talk about, they leave a paper trail. So the thing is, if you talk about checking into somebody, if you want to engage with a personality or an influencer, and you see that they're kind of, even if they're smaller, that they're in circles with some of these people, like that can be a red flag, and that can be something where it warns you. Versus when you look at people who are small enough that they're not at all engaged with, and they're not at all like Twitter mutuals or followers or whatever with some of these much, much larger accounts that have red flags, then sometimes it gets to a point where it's like, I got much less to go on, other than to sit here and watch some streams and dig through some posts.
So like life hacks for that. Twitch clips are a good way to do that.
Yep.
Like there's, especially now that those are easy to like go through and review, like going and checking out people's like top 10 clips from the last 6 months. So usually there's anything like wildly explosive, it has been captured there. But you also get like a good sense of like what the community appreciates about the streamer, and sometimes you just run into the most wonderful things. So I've definitely done that where I'm looking into like, hey, there's this cool new Twitch streamer I just heard about, someone recommended them to me or whoever. I'll go check them out, watch some Twitch clips, and just like get a sense of who they are and what they're about. Watching how Twitch chat responds to things happening is usually like a really good indicator of like how their community works and operates. For folks who have Discords, like I find hopping in there, you get like a really good sense of what people are about. And that's kind of part of the ongoing process. Like people always kind of downplay like, oh, community management, that's easy, right? Like you just watch streams all day. And it's like,
well, you see social media, and
well, it's a little bit more than that, but it's that's part of what I enjoy is like when I get to like dive into working with an influencer for this time, because I'm like, yes, I have an excuse to watch Twitch for the next 20 minutes and actually like go through and see some awesome stuff, because like there are definitely a lot more fantastic streamers that we don't know about than there are like terrible people that we don't know about. In general, like I've had the privilege of stumbling across just hundreds and hundreds of amazing streamers in the last year that I never knew about because they were just in different parts of the gaming community, which is now massive. So I'm always like grateful for when people are like, hey, you should check out this person, they're great and they do this. And it doesn't mean I'll always have an opportunity to work with them because the games that we make might not be a good fit for them, but it's great to just have this ever-building community of people where I'm like, yeah, there are awesome people in the world doing great things.
And you know that you meet these people, you keep an eye on them, that maybe you produce a game at some point, the game's produced that does make sense for this audience. Or
I mean, like that's a lot of what I've been doing at Adult Swim Games for the last year, because we haven't had all the games that we put out last year came out in the summer. We had a bunch of awesome releases, and then since then, like everything else that we're doing is very NDA, can't talk about it. You know, like very, very early on. So this year I've been trying to meet as many people that I can who are just great streamers. I don't care if they have 15 viewers a night or if they have 1,500 viewers a night. Like I'm just out to meet people and find out more about what they do. And so when the time comes where we can announce a new project, I have that list of folks where I'm like, these are the people I know, these are the streamers I've talked to, these are the influencers I want to reach out to and engage with as soon as I possibly can, because I know that they're great and I've met them and I know they're a fan of what we do and I want to work with them.
And speaking to that same vein, as most things in life, it's all about timing. And like, I've been involved with the gaming industry for the past 3 years, but I've only been streaming for 2 months. So, consistently. But you have people who have knowledge beyond their stream, and just because they've been streaming for a long time, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have built their skill set and built their knowledge of that game or of that genre that they're in. So you really have to, sometimes taking a chance on a smaller streamer is just as beneficial, because they may have knowledge and skill sets that you have no idea.
Yeah.
And just by working with them, you'll start to discover those parts of their personality that will help you with marketing your game.
Sure. Now, being on the smaller side of content creation, Derek, with SDGC, the small to medium side of things, what has been like your experience with trying to cover stuff that you want to cover, with reaching out and things of that?
It can be interesting. We've managed to, like, if we want to, because we really want to review everything we can.
Sure.
It's obviously a lot easier, especially with some of these much larger games, when you can get review codes, because you've only got maybe about a week after release to get a review out before anyone cares what you have to say. So it puts you in kind of a rush point. where you don't get a code early and you've got to get moving. So it takes a lot of stress off of our plate. There have been times where we've had to make the call where something was just too big for us to get a review done on time if we had to wait till launch day. So we just can't do that. There's a lot of smaller games that we might have passed up that we've managed to get through PR partners that we've been able to like review or stream or just generally do coverage on that we might have not really noticed if we were just searching things out on our own. The other thing is, what's interesting is when you're a small content creator, and especially if you're involved in the podcast side of things, and you can speak to this as well, is a lot of times the numbers are liars.
Oh yeah.
If you look at the actual like Twitch numbers for SDGC, you go to the official SDGC channel and you look at the number of viewers that are on any given night. It doesn't look like it's a whole lot of viewers for the Twitch show, but you'll see that some of the people who are regularly in our show are actually fairly major like gaming media figures.
Sure.
So sometimes people with small audiences can have disproportionate impact based on how big their followers are, which is kind of the story of my internet life, because I'm not like a huge footprint, but I've got a lot of people who follow me individually and the show who are fairly major. And then on top of that, your podcast numbers, when you take the audio podcast version of your show and you put that out on podcast services, people can't see that. I mean, you can give those numbers to people, but like we use SoundCloud, and then we put it in an RSS feed that goes out to Google and Spotify and iTunes, and we have to grab 8 different sets of statistics to actually put together numbers, but like that's huge. So you look at Twitch numbers and like Twitter followers, and that's the tip of an iceberg for that type of content creator. So it's just, that's where it becomes hard to just judge on like numbers alone, because that's not really a meaningful metric sometimes.
Yeah, and for me, like a lot of that comes back to the research thing. Like the podcast is a great example, because even some of the most popular gaming podcasts on the planet get less than 100 viewers.
Yeah.
But they get tens of thousands of listeners every show. And so like there was one guy that I worked with last year whose Twitch stream had maybe like 40 or 50 concurrents, right? But every YouTube video he cut out of those Twitch streams would get 40,000 views, and so like everyone has a different way of kind of reaching their audience.
Yeah.
And, like it's part of why I'm always like I always react to interest. Like if people reach out, I'm always like, okay, cool. Like this person actually cares about what we're doing, and the size is something that always comes later, because it's like if people are interested in what we're doing, I want to work with them. I want to do something with them, because whoever they are, like you were saying, like how most of your audience is other people in the games industry who are also influential. Like that's something that's really interesting to me, because that's very difficult to measure unless you really dive into it. And I personally believe that exists everywhere, and if you just look at the numbers and sort by, view count, you're going to miss so many opportunities.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to talk about is also the word I'm looking for here. Like I guess like the purpose of a small to medium content creator at an event like this, at a PAX.
Yeah.
What do you guys feel if you are a smaller content creator? Like let's say you're smaller and you haven't actually gotten any opportunities. You haven't met the PR people. You haven't met the developers, the publishers. Whatever your field of interest is, what do you think at an event like this is kind of the first step for one of them to take?
Oh, step one, just walk up to people.
Yep.
Just walk up to people. Start in those indie devs.
Yeah.
Just walk up to
they
people.
can't leave their booths. Yeah. They're trapped. They have to talk to you, and they want to.
They want to be loved.
I'm going to give you a caveat on that. If you walk up and they are in the middle of a conversation, do not put your arm around them and...
Don't put your arm around people ever. That just
because I've watched people do that 5 times during this event.
Social, and that's the thing I hate.
Drives me nuts.
I really hate to put that asterisk on, but like there are some people who are not cut out.
Oh no.
To be like, and you have to have either know or like get into. However you learn it, like you've got to be socially apt. Like you've got to be able to read people, because you got to know when somebody is too busy or looks too flustered for you to really bother them with, hey, can I get 5 minutes for an interview real quick? That's not going to happen. You're going to bother them, and if you're lucky, they don't remember you for the next time you want to come around.
Yeah, I mean, the simplest thing to do is, like, especially if it's your first time out, I've always heard you should go to PAX. Like, go walk up to a booth, and there's kind of like this imaginary queue of talking to people. The easiest way to get people to talk with you is to just sit down and play their game, because they will talk to you when you start playing their game. And just
sometimes they'll play their game with you.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll do that, which is great. Like, but especially starting off with like the indie booths and that kind of thing, it's very easy to talk with people versus a lot of the bigger places where it's like 60-minute line. Like, you're not gonna get an opportunity to talk with anyone there. But
also, the places with those lines, typically you don't actually have anyone other than just someone. It's someone manning the booth half the time. It's not someone who's on a team
at a much larger scale. But like being able to directly talk with indie developers, like. When I was doing content creation, like, that is a big part of how I got started, was just like, I'm going to go look for alpha keys. I'm going to go look for anyone doing giveaways. I'm going to try to get involved with, tiny communities. And for indie developers, any attention that you can give them is great. So definitely willing to talk with you. But, like you were saying with the social thing, like, not all of us are social wizards. Many people in the games industry have social anxiety, and surprisingly, we don't all like being around people all the time. But it's very easy to just like walk up and, like you were saying, like read the room, just kind of watch what the person in front of you is doing, and everything's good.
Well, it's amazing when you put a room full of people all with social anxiety, all together, because it's
in a giant convention center of an anxiety.
Well, it's either when you're in the convention center or you get into a party or a bar setting or something like that. You have this room full of all these people with social anxiety, and it's somehow all this social anxiety like morphs and molds into this thing where it just doesn't matter. It's like, hey, are you having a panic? It's like, me too.
Let's cry together.
Well, once you actually start talking with people, then it's all easy.
Well, and it's also like I said, you got to learn. I mean, when you talk about the social graces, like, recognize if you feel awkward, because you're going to feel awkward. Like, I feel really awkward at all moments that I'm in this building. So are like most of the people you're going to talk to. And it's learning how to talk in a way that disarms them, because you have to understand that they're anxious about every person that comes up to them. And you want to make them feel comfortable within your conversation. And it's not an easy thing to do, because there's nothing wrong with like social anxiety, and there's nothing really wrong with not totally knowing, but you've got to find a way to disarm that, from yourself and from the other person if you want to jump in.
The best thing to do is, it's like, especially if you're doing broadcasting, right? You know how like every person in chat is important? Just go by that rule. Like, treat everyone with kindness.
And just like general compassion for human beings. Like, you come to these things and you assume everybody here is all business, but everybody's got their own stuff going on. Like, people have kids and people have family and people have, all their own stuff. And I've seen so many stories.
Student debt.
I've seen so many stories on Twitter for PAX, and it was like, oh, my child is sick, but I still have to go to PAX, or my family member is going through a hard time, but I have to go to PAX. Like, you really don't know. So just that whole portion of just be a compassionate human being.
Except that everyone you're talking to is human, much like yourself, with their own wants, needs, and turmoils and horrors and all that fun stuff, and just go, understand what you're going through. They might be going through as well.
I mean, the best thing to do is really just to like go to PAX. Like, if you're watching this and you're at home right now and you had been thinking about going to PAX but chose not to, like, everyone should go at least once. Right, and should figure out if this part of the gaming community is for them. And speaking to a lot of streamers over the weekend, like, so many people get like their launch pad from going to PAX, because they finally get to meet and network with people and talk directly to developers, or talk directly with other streamers that they've known for ages but have just never met in person. And so a lot of connections and opportunities come up from this. And so it's just like everyone should do this at least once, is my thought.
Well, and there was a point I wanted to bring up. You had been talking about the lines.
The lines.
Yeah, this might be a hot take, but
oh boy, here we go.
If you're at a convention, even though you're super excited about that big game that's coming up, a 2-hour line or a 3-hour line, I feel like those are missed opportunities, because there are so many indie games that are here that could either use your support or could get eyes on it if you're not waiting on that line. And that game is going to be out in a few months or however long it is.
Or it's currently out sometimes, and people wait 3 hours.
Right, but a lot of these indie games, this is like their big chance. They might not get a chance to come out. Like, sometimes this is like the conventions are like they're in early access, and this is their like last chance to really
it's their make or break point.
Right. So as much of it is it's opportunities for content creators and streamers, it's really also an opportunity for the indie devs.
It's like that. Everybody has a different wavelength that they're on for PAX, right? So there's definitely like that group of video game fans who are here and they're like, all right, I'm getting in this line at 7 a.m. Floor opens at 10 a.m. I'm going straight to this booth. I'm going to get in that line. I'm going to be there for an hour. I'm going to play this game. It's going to be great. Then I'm going to get lunch. Then I'm going to go stand in another line for the other thing. And that's their entire day. And, like, that's totally valid. Like, people come to PAX for that. And I think that's wonderful. But when you're, coming on the path of, an up-and-coming streamer, like, it's going to be different for you. Like, that is not your role when you're here. Like, your job is to go out and talk and network and meet as many people and play as many different games as possible. It's like the same for me. Like now, like after this, I'm going back to the hotel to work out of the lobby so that I can meet people while also getting a lot of things done. Like, and that is another road of weirdness that happens when you're in the industry and you work at PAX. Other people are trapped at booths all day. Like, it's different for everybody.
Well, it's one of those things. I think about with like constant calibrating, I think about how we used to do stuff. We've been doing this for a little over 7 years. There was a 5-year period, I'd say almost. Like we were attending, Rooster Teeth Expo. We had started attending PAXs and stuff like that. Some local stuff in Arizona. But I came to this realization, like we're going to these events and all we're doing is playing the demos. We're playing the floor show, doing all those things. Never speaking to someone. We never went out to parties. We never went out to networking events. We never talked to people. We never hung around a hotel on our laptop, just to see if someone we recognize. We never did any of those things. And then, decent growth, not over, all right. But then suddenly, like, I started going to these things.
Right.
And in the last 2 years, it's been night and day comparison because talking to people, maybe not getting over my social anxiety, but pushing it a little bit to the side so I can actually have a conversation with a human being.
Yeah.
And opportunities like something like this, being on a stage, in the middle of the floor, wouldn't have happened had I not had a panic, literally the sequence of events had a panic attack at E3 and ended up pushing myself along a path to actually talk to a person related to Versus Evil. Like that it was, you can map your journey with the weird moments that you've had, usually at events. Also, if you want, I always say, if you're going to be a content creator, and you just want to play video games, you just want to just do that kind of stuff, it's not your career, cool, thumbs up. That is a 100% valid thing. Do not think you have to do this as anything more than a hobby. But if you are a person trying to make this your career, whether content creation is your career or move on to another thing, I always say, don't just stay in your house. Go to, whether it's local meetups, whether it's flying out, go find your local PAX, find your local thing. It can be, again, small events.
For like the digital life that we all live, and the fact that it's all digital, like the best connections happen in person.
Oh yeah.
And like that's the thing that I love about coming out to events. Like I just scanned the people who are out here, and I recognize like 5 people.
Yep.
Because after a while you build up an event family. You build up people that you recognize at all these things. You build up this ongoing, community of people that you can now rely on when you go to these things. And it creates such a different level of the whole experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's also sometimes such a subtle thing because I've only gotten to the point of recently realizing, I'm like, oh, again, the same thing you're doing. Like, I'm talking, but I'm like, pivoting across this whole day. And I'm like, that guy, that person. Like, it's interesting just how your brain almost remaps a little bit also as you start to meet people and start to develop those connections.
It's funny for how little I see people like at conventions because we're all working. I still sometimes talk to them more than I talk to my own family. So it's weird. We get into that like familial state with some of the developers and industry people that you meet.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and for a lot of you small content creators, that may be the case too. Literally for your colleagues who are other small content creators, both who are with other outlets and people from your own outlets. Like at SDGC, we're all over the place. I mean, we've got somebody in DC, we've got somebody up in Detroit. I'm from Kentucky. We've got somebody in Kansas City. We're all over the place because the beautiful thing is the internet kind of allows you to operate as like small scale press without needing to be physically located like in New York or in Silicon Valley or something. So these become the rare opportunities for you to meet up in person with other content. Like this is my first time meeting you in person. But
this is even with SDGC. It's the first time most of you have been in really
a
the
lot
same
of us
vicinity.
have been, right, because we've done some cast additions and change-ups in the last couple of months.
Sure.
So, but and that becomes a big part of these events too, is the fact that you get to actually meet up with meet up with your coworkers. You become kind of like a little family in a lot of ways, you know, because you're eating together, you're sleeping together, you know, you both within your group and from people around your group. We went out and grabbed dinner yesterday after PAX. So, you know, that's really important. That's meaningful to keeping, I don't want to say morale because it's very clinical, but like, you know, it's meaningful to keeping those ties strong, because a lot of these community, if you're not like a big money kind of content creator and you've got some money to throw at this, chances are you're not talking about having, you know, 5, 6, 8 people with like a studio and equipment, and you're working with what you've scavenged together and grabbed on sale and put on credit cards, you know, and like, it's really important.
I think that's been 90% of my career working as a games journalist, because if I hadn't met Josh and Justin, like there were so many points in going to conventions where I was like, oh, I forgot this cable, or I forgot this, or you're kind of just scavenging even during the week of a convention. The support that give your other smaller content creators your support, that is the biggest thing you can do as a content creator.
Well, that's the thing. When I first started out, I viewed everyone as competition. That was my mistake, because I had a podcast, and in Arizona, a lot of people were really angry all the time for some reason, and like, you're stealing my views, you're stealing this. Nobody's stealing your views. No, that's not a thing. If people want to watch your content, they're going to watch your content. There's no view stealing. People can watch and listen to multiple people, but over the years, going to different green rooms at different events, it's like, I know these guys, so you know, so ConCal friends with SDGC, OKB, Stereo Rational Passions. We see these guys, and it's like, I'll even look and be like, holy shit, they're interviewing this person? I couldn't talk to that person.
You just named like all of the small content creator like Avengers of the gaming sphere.
A little bit. Like, the four of the new Avengers of content creation. But I'll see them. Like, I mean, you were telling me about a couple of interviews earlier that you did, and I'm just like, I hate you that you did this, but I'm also proud of you at the same time. And also, like, most of us have that thing where, like as Christine said, I see her, if she forgets something, like a tripod or something, I'll loan it out and stuff like that, because we don't need it right now. Who gives a shit?
I can't tell you how many events we've stayed in the same room because it's just easier.
It's a lot
than
easier
renting
sometimes.
a room or renting an Airbnb by yourself.
But also, those are good connections, because you never know when you're going to want to work with somebody. You never know when you're going to want to. In my case, had an opportunity to be on this stage. None of my people were coming to this event, so it's like, okay, who can I talk about this topic with? Okay, I'm going to reach out to Christine. I'm going to reach out to Derek.
I'm literally the smallest.
You are the smallest. It literally on this stage.
I'm a fairly small man, and like you make me look like a giant, and that's a weird feeling.
I'm wearing
and that's
foot
with
ramps.
You being in like foot-long like heels. It's amazing. I hope your feet aren't breaking.
Well, my mantra, it's funny because you talk about small content creators and small media and things like that, and literally my mantra since I was younger has been the best things comes in small packages. My mom said that to me the entirety of my life, and that has been my mantra, and I think that's why I love the indie industry so much. It's just a group of small creators coming together to create some of the best experiences that gaming has to offer.
Well, and you talk about, we've just done all this talking about, like, small content creators and how to break past the barrier and, like, start working with each other and get connected. And I think that gets to one of the strengths of working with small content creators and personalities is those that have managed to break past the barrier and start coming to events and start meeting people and talking to people and getting into those networks. Like, if you're a company and you're wanting to do, some work or reach out to these people, like, that ripple effects through, because we have to have such a tight and very personal, we have to have that in order to survive. We can't be self-sustaining. That giant Twitch streamer out there hits all of his followers, but we're talking to each other in DMs and after the show and stuff like that about everything that happened to us, and that spreads through like that small content creator kind of like network in a way, because everybody knows everybody through some kind of Kevin Bacon number.
Yeah, it's the 8 degrees of PAX.
Yeah.
And I think we have to start getting rid of the connotation that small automatically means bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a word. It doesn't automatically have a bad connotation for it, at least in the word of small, because it's like you were saying, like the numbers don't always speak the most honest truths.
Yeah. Well, because you see a lot of small streamers who are tremendously entertaining and thoughtful and have really interesting insight into why decisions might have been made with games as they're playing them, which is always if I'm watching a small streamer, that's an immediate when I get really good insight from them and I go, I never thought about that, but that's really smart. I love that. You see that all the time in people who have a lot of maybe the academic knowledge but haven't started putting themselves out there. And then with SDGC, sure, we may be small, but I'd like to believe that we put out really thoughtful, meaningful, we joke about hot takes, but none of us are leaping to make the crazy thing. We want to make sure that we're taking a measured response and not trying to jump straight to the hyperbole that oftentimes you may have to sustain, and be extra 150% on to maintain your huge content creator status.
Yes.
But the problem is that that comes hand in hand with not being able to be measured, and a lot of people want measured. A lot of people feel safe with measured.
Yeah, I think it's a thing of there's always this bit with life cycles and all that stuff, but there's people talk about how to brand yourself as a streamer, how to talk about yourself as a streamer. That to me is always really interesting when streamers are focused enough to kind of talk about themselves in a way that makes a lot of exact sense. So if I meet someone and they're I focus entirely on this kind of genre, or my community loves watching me play simulation games or turn-based stuff, or old RPGs. I only play old RPGs from point and click back in the day stuff, right? Those little type of things help me better understand okay, small is no longer the word. You're focused.
Mm-hmm.
You have this specific thing. And some people do that, and I really admire the people who can. Me personally, I can't do that. I tell people I play a lot of fighting games on stream because I do, but I will also play, Path of Exile for 100 hours because, that's a thing.
Yeah.
And so everybody has different stuff, different ways that you could talk about the rest of it, but a big chunk of it is just getting involved at that community level is always huge, because those what is small or what is influential or what is big changes dramatically based on which games community you're a part of, and so I think that's always the best thing that you can do. The biggest impact I've seen from folks and some of the best stories I've heard from streamers is when they really get involved with the games community and kind of stick it out with them for a long period of time, kind of like what happened with you. All these opportunities come up that you never would have had before because you didn't just go and play a game because it caught your eye and then on to the next thing. Getting involved, building relationships is always such a huge component.
Yeah, I mean that's what it boils down to is if you want to get anywhere, and this is really anything, any medium, any job, anything. If you want to build the relationships, learn how things work, learn how the moving parts in learn the moving parts behind the scenes.
Yeah,
because otherwise you just kind of, and in the end, it'll just be standing still.
Yeah.
I feel if you want any kind of growth. So any other thoughts on this topic before we kind of maybe shift gears a little bit?
I think I should now change my name to the Focused Bird.
The Focused Bird.
That's all I've been thinking about since you said that.
The Focustest Bird.
I don't know. I mean, I've had struggles doing that personally because I still stream personally because I want to continue to have the that experience being on that side of the camera so that when I work with influencers, I still know what it's like to be in that chair and to talk with people and to deal with trolls and all the day in and day out stuff that we constantly forget that how much pressure that broadcasters are under constantly. So I still do that. I've never been able to focus down. As soon as I'm I'm gonna do this 3 times a week and get this scheduled down, some random game catches my eye and I'm over here playing that for 3 weeks now. But if that's something that you can do, and a lot of people do, and they really focus down on one game or one genre or one publisher or one developer, whatever it is, there's so much that you have as part of that community now because of that consistency and presence. And for me as a community manager, when I see people who are consistently playing my game day in and day out, I get so excited that they're that passionate about what we put into the world, and that's someone that I want to work with. And, most other studios are like that too, when they are able to mark out, like, this person is really passionate about us and what we're doing, and, that definitely comes through.
All right.
Yeah, one of the things I did, I'm a fan of a game called Dusk that's actually showing here at PAX. Wow, I just knocked my headset off.
Usually, when I'm at home, I punch my microphone at least once every podcast.
That's why it's called Bear Punch.
Mike didn't deserve that.
Sorry. But what I did was I actually went out into the woods and did a photo shoot with their merch.
Yeah.
And the photo is on their website selling their merch, and like that's how I got involved with one of the games.
That's so awesome.
And so like it's not always just about one medium or one form to get involved. There are so many different ways that you can get involved with the game. That's not just necessarily because content creator means so many different things. It's not just I am a streamer. It is I am a content creator. I am creating some form of medium, whether that's art, whether that's music, whether that's
Yeah. And so, like, one other final note, too, is, like, please tag us in social media things. Like, make my life easier, please. Like, one of the things that I do is constantly listen and observe every possible touch point that I can, within reason. So anytime that I get to react to something, or it just pops up for me where it's like, hey, at Adult Swim Games, like, hey, Dan, like, check these things out. Like, I want to know about that stuff. That stuff is awesome. Like, please tag the people for the games that you are playing, because it just helps us so much.
I had a thought on that. Just so if anyone was wondering why I'm laughing, somebody was jumping around like a maniac off camera trying to get my attention. So, but no, it's a valid point. One of those things I worried about in my early days of doing stuff. Oh, I don't want to tag this person. I don't want to tag this company, because what if they think I'm begging them for something? What if they think I'm doing this? And then I, got like one of my first partnership things, and I was it straight up said in the email, please tag the company and tag me in literally anything you do related to our products, so I know where to find it and I know how to support you.
Yeah, because the first time you do that, like, I get a bunch of one-off, like, people tag us once, and it's like, okay, cool, like, someone's playing our thing, like button, I saw this, whatever. But if it's someone who's consistently, like, playing a game and letting us know about it and things, like, I remember those names and faces and pictures and avatars, and, like, that encouraged me to go and actually check you out if I've never heard of you before. Or if you are very small, but you're consistent, which is a huge metric that I look for, is like, okay, this person might only have 150 subs on YouTube, but do they upload every day? Like, this person might just have hit affiliate on Twitch, which is great. Are they still staying consistent on it? Are they still doing weekly content? Do they still have a community? What's their Twitch chat like? So I'll dive in as soon as I see, like, people consistently playing our stuff, because, like, that's really awesome. Like, I want to work with those people. I want to know who you are. Mm-hmm. So if you're out there playing my games every couple of days and you're not tagging me, I'm very angry at you now, and you need to do that.
Also, if you're doing things, if you're writing reviews or making review videos or doing any kind of content for a game, and you were whether you were sent a review code or not, if you were sent a code, but send people emails, send the PR people emails with the coverage, because very few people do that. So if you are actually a person consistently sending that in, they're going to remember you as well, and you're going to be more likely, even if your video does not get a shit ton of views, you are more likely to get a code next time, because you are professional, you are respectful.
And if you can't contact the PR people, contact the community managers.
Yes.
Please.
Yep.
Like, one of my best experiences last year was with a guy who had just started a YouTube review channel a couple months before our game Death's Gambit came out.
Yep.
And he sent me a review of his, and it had like a few hundred views, but it was really good. Like, it was a really good review. Like, it was for a game I was familiar with. Like, it was thoughtful, it was well produced. Like, you could see the love and care this guy put into it. I was like, thank you, man, you're on the press list. Like, you're gonna get a code, like, as soon as we send them out.
Yep.
Because, like, we take the time to do that. So,
which is good. I mean, it's really great. Like, that you can build that awareness of people, and also build the confidence in someone where you could see they're producing this amazing content.
Yeah,
and just feel like you're giving them that little, like, that nudge.
Right.
Almost.
Yeah, and that was what he told me afterwards. Like, it took him X number of days to produce the review, and he put it out there, and afterwards he contacted me. He was like, hey, thanks again so much for this. Like, the video's doing great. People are checking it out. Like, it's been awesome being part of the Discord community, and, like, just gotten so much energy from being able to work on this thing and having a direct line, you know, and I'm like, yes, like that's what I want. That's what I want to do for people, you know. I love having that opportunity to give talented people who are just starting off with this, like a springboard or an energy shot or jetpacks or whatever metaphor you want to use for like making sure that, you know, people continue to stay motivated to do this.
For sure. Derek, do you have something interesting? I don't know.
I don't know that I have anything to add to that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, fair enough. So then,
I silenced Derek. I win this round.
Damn.
Dan uses silence.
Throw the headset off. Abandon your post, sir.
I don't want to throw this headset. It feels expensive.
It's a really nice. These are some sick Audio Technica headsets.
Shout out to Audio Technica.
As the only person wearing glasses right now, I'm wearing thick frames. These are pretty comfortable. Like, to be clear, not an ad. Like, they just legitimately are comfortable right now.
Don't worry, Josh. I got you.
I'm wearing contacts.
Now we're both wearing glasses.
You're wearing glasses, but these are still thick frames.
These are prescription, bro.
I wish I could wear prescription sunglasses.
I can see everything so far away now.
And you look like smooth jazz.
It looks amazing out
I wish
here
we had
PAX.
some smooth jazz playing right now.
And next up, we'll be changing topics. Bear, please tell us what we'll be up to.
So I wanted to think about, like, we're right now, I think it's, what are we at, day 2 of PAX? I legitimately lost all. I legitimately cannot
I
keep
will
track
keep
anymore.
doing this.
Yeah.
I will. Please tell me to stop.
No. I can't do it. You started it, and honestly, I'm enjoying it way too much.
So are we going to talk about PAX now?
Yeah, so let's talk about PAX. So
day 2.
So day 2. So we haven't seen everything, but we've seen enough. We've done our stuff. I don't know who wants to start off. What's been your favorite thing you've seen? Whether it's a game, a panel, what have you. What's been your favorite thing? Could start Derek.
So I don't know. Like, it's hard to nail down like a
Sure.
specific like game. For me, one of the best things has been rolling through both the indie mega booth and also the indie booths off in the corner that is really not nearly as good of real estate, and they're not getting visited nearly as much. But like the indie developers who are not here with a major publisher, going through and just rapid fire, hitting them up, asking about their games, checking their games out. Like, they love being seen. A lot of these people are not, a lot of these people are working 40 hours a week day jobs and then coming home and working on their game. And they've spent crippling amounts of money to get their little spot in that mega booth. So for them to then get actual like attention from people, like, you think, I'm only one of maybe, hundreds of people that they may see today. That may be so, but you're one of those hundreds of people that made their trip worth it.
Yeah.
They feel like, especially as like I said, as a small content creator. Us going around with our camera and voice recorder set up and getting some actual video interviews with a lot of these people. Like, to them, they're like, holy crap, this is free coverage that I didn't have to pay for. Like, and I'm used to having to promote tweets and Facebook ads and like pay to come to events. Like, this is what I wanted out of that. And as somebody with a lot of friends who are small independent developers who are facing those kind of financial challenges to like try to make it out to here, it feels good to make that worth it to them, because that's really the backbone of this industry nowadays in a lot of ways. Is those small creators who then sometimes go on to get on with publishers like Adult Swim Games, who are not maybe like the Bandai Namcos or the Sonys that people first think of as the massive publishers, but like, y'all are putting those people on the map, and that's so meaningful. Yeah. So that's I think what has made all of this been so energizing for me on this show floor.
And if I could build off that and kind of help them out a little bit, so I've been working with the booth all week for a game called Mage Quit. And I wrote about them 2 years ago and just have still been involved with their game. And I don't want to speak for them, but the reason why I decided to work with them was their story. It's a team of 2 brothers. They've been working on the game for the past 3 years, but only part-time, and one of them just went full-time. And, they drove 23 hours to be at South. They drove 11 hours to be here at East. Like, I think that's one of my favorite things is, and I think this is a little part of me being a writer, but I love those kinds of stories where people had to kind of put in everything they had to be here and get here. There's a game I think it's in the Indie Mega Booth, that area, but it's called The World Next Door. They just released this. They released during PAX.
They released yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's so cool to see them come here during their release week and still want to show, even though they're a small team, they could be concentrating on so many other things, but, to have that grit to come here and come out and do all that while you're still running a business, it's really inspirational.
Well, yeah, because again, like you're talking about the fact that these are these small teams. They don't have someone back in the home office like running their launch. They don't have someone back in the home office continue social media. No, like just using World Next Door as a reference, just because I know a few people from there. I was chatting with their community manager who literally had to leave the show floor and go hang out at the hotel so she can continue doing community management stuff, so she can continue posting and handling all those things. I mocked her because I'm like, you're a community manager, shouldn't you be with your community on the floor, kind of thing, because I'm an ass.
Yeah, but, I've been pretty much doing the same thing, and I'm sure you understand this.
Oh, yeah.
Working in a booth and getting work done off of your laptop in the place that has the shittiest Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And then walking to the other place that had the slightly better but still shitty Wi-Fi.
That's why we end up at the hotels, because the hotels have better Wi-Fi than the floor does. And so it's not that we're avoiding you fans.
Yeah.
We just have to talk to everyone at once.
Yep.
Avoiding you.
Yeah, it might be me specifically. Which is the truth sometimes.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you.
It's okay, Derek.
So, Dan, you have a different experience then, because we're more on the content creator side of things. What has been one of yours? My brain is just fried.
One of yours. What has been one of yours experience eyes?
It's day two.
What's been one of yours is here at the PAXs.
Well, here's the
what's your
PAXs.
paxing? How are you paxing this trip?
So this one's interesting for me. So I've got the luxury working at Adult Swim Games where I don't have to work the booth.
Yeah.
So I get to do a lot of wandering the show floor and talking with people and, doing long wandering walks with different people that I follow up with. So a lot of my time at events is entirely spent on building relationships, of following up with people, of seeing all of my old friends who are showing games off at other booths, following up with all my community managers who are my peers that I learn things from constantly. And of course, spending a lot of time with streamers, influencers, and just kind of continuing to build those relationships that go on. So my schedule at PAX is different from most people. I usually roll around to the floor at like 11, and then I stay here till 6, and then I take off my shoes for an hour, and then I shower, and then I go out from 7 until 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yep.
And so that is my life at PAX, and here it's been great because this kicks off like the second year that I've been running to events with Adult Swim Games, and it's just nice being able to reconnect with people. And again, like I was mentioning earlier, like that list of event friends, like you are on that list of people I see all the time at events, and every time I do, I'm filled with joy, and I go, hooray! I am back amongst my people, and this is my tribe, and I'm so glad that I can hang out with these folks again, because that to me is the saddest part about PAX, is the going home afterwards and realizing that, like, man, if only we had grown up in like the same high school, we would have been like best buds and probably had a garage band and talked a lot about like whether or not Donnie Darko was pretentious and all that kind of stuff. Like, so it's for me, it's just been great getting to come back and see everyone. Like, I have such blinders these days when it comes to the games themselves because the people have just become so much more of the important aspect for me.
Yeah, the games become the people who make them.
Yes, very much.
I'm not even actually that concerned with playing the games. I'm finding myself I'm not super concerned as I go through these booths and sitting down and play. I don't want to sit for 3 hours to play this game. I want to talk to the developers. I want to see what they're doing. I really want to see what they're showing. I'd like to see people play for a couple minutes and see what's up there, and then I want to talk. I don't, because I could sit here and get the base gameplay experience, but what does it matter? I'm not beating this game. I can read what you're giving me pretty quickly. So I don't need that 20-minute gameplay session. I don't.
I avoid playing people's games at PAX because I go straight into player feedback mode. Have you thought about these 38 things? And oh man, if you adjusted the frames right here a little bit, people will like this a lot better. And your default controls should be like I turn into that guy. That guy sucks, right?
Yeah.
No one wants to hang out with that
Please
guy.
don't be that
right?
guy.
So like I don't play people's games because I automatically start going into like player feedback development translation mode because that's just part of my job and I'm broken. But
it could be worse.
Talking to people is good.
It could be worse. You could be Justin, who literally breaks, I'd say, 1/3 of the demo stations he sits down on at any event. Any event he sits down on, and it's not just broken like, oh, we just need to they're broken. Done.
It's just like completely crashed.
Yeah, it's a joke with some press people.
Keep him out of here.
Who are we sending? Are we sending me or are we sending Justin to the appointment?
Because don't you dare send Justin. Or please send him so we can see if our build is stable.
There you go.
I actually just saw one of the booth's devs that I'm working at walk by, and I was like, why aren't you at the booth?
Yeah, it's funny, like what a lot of people don't know about PAX, especially, and this is true for AAA companies too, but like the most developers have specialized builds of the game that are created entirely just for PAX. So like whatever version of the game you play here will likely never exist again. Even for a lot of games that are released, they'll do stuff that's different for the PAX build to like show off new content or whatever. So there's definitely been like some great things where I'll walk past a booth like right as a game's crashing, and I'm like, the classic.
It's true because even with Mage Quit, there was like a new set of spells for the game.
Right.
And the dev literally stayed up until 3
all
in the morning on
to
Wednesday
get the build made.
to get the build working.
You were telling me that the other day, and I just was sitting there like, what the fuck? That just...
It was.
I want to give a shout out to Christine Love with Love Conquers All Games. We were over testing out Get in the Car Loser.
I love that.
Which, I mean, I'm a big fan of Christine, and, but it was amazing because I'm sitting here, I'm in this encounter with these enemies that can call for backup, and the rate at which they can call for backup makes it almost into like a DPS grind to try to, but it was balanced way too hard in the wrong direction. And her development partner are both sitting there watching this fight and taking notes and pounding away at a laptop, and they're literally reworking the build as I'm playing it to try to change that. And then I walked away, and as we came back later, they were literally updating all of their setups with a new build to try that.
That's
so
that
I mean,
PAX hustle.
that is, I was gonna say that is hustle to be updating and coding on your game on the fly. Much love.
I mean, that's just like that's just like a whole interesting thing. I'm just always fascinated with. So, just for mine, my best thing for me, I'm kind of the same as you guys. I've been doing demos of games for so long now. So I honestly kind of hate demos. Almost no disrespect to people who do them. It's just the way my brain is wired for gaming. If you drop me in the middle of a game with all of the powers of whatever, I don't know how to frickin' play it, and it doesn't tell me enough to know if I know nothing about the game, if I want to pick it up or if I want to cover it later. So it's almost counterintuitive for me.
It's almost no better than a trailer in a lot of ways.
Yeah, depending. There are some demos that are different. Just referencing, I think I can also see it over there. The Messenger, I would have never played that game had I not watched Justin play the demo of it at E3, because they made a special demo where it was a completely different story. It was a story for the demo. It was completely different writing. It was it doesn't exist outside of that demo kind of thing. And that sold me on the whole experience. It sold me on what they were on what they were doing. So, I like that kind of stuff. But for me, all these events are about reconnecting with people. I've only ever done PAX West previously, but then I was at West and people said, come to South. Okay, I went to South. People come to East. It's I just want to see. I want to hang out with Dan more.
Ongoing train of come to the next event.
Yeah, but it was.
You going to E3 this year?
No.
Oh, dang it! All right,
I might be there.
I'll find someone. You're gonna be there?
I might.
Yeah, let's hang out.
Yeah.
It'll be good. You going?
I don't know. We're working on it.
We're working on. All right. Well, let me know, because then we can all hang out. That's the next big thing.
I was sure that I wasn't going to it, but now it's again one of those things. I was sure I wasn't going to East.
Yeah,
and
you
then
going to TwitchCon this year? TwitchCon. I mean, this is the conversation that happens, right? But it happens later on.
Top secret look into what it's like sitting in the hotel lobby.
It's pretty much what it looks like, the hotel lobby of the final day of the event at 2 o'clock in the morning when people.
But and that's very much it. It's that event circuit. Everybody has their different half a dozen or so, but especially for developers who go out to PAX, one of my friends goes to 25 30 events a year with this game. Like, and that's wild, you know?
When all of my friends leave, the weasel comes back into my brain.
Well, it's been interesting for me because even outside these events, like there was a friend of mine who was in town. He's a developer, and it was like one of the few times that we were in the same state at the same time. It was just like this rush of joy and adrenaline, just like you're here. Like
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you don't get to see your gaming community friends as often as you'd hope to.
Yeah.
No. And my favorite thing is going home and telling my wife all these stories about Dan and Christine and John and Derek and all these other people, and she's like, who the fuck are these people you're talking about? Because I just tell these weird-ass stories because that's what con life is. That is what expo life is.
I don't tell a lot of con stories. I always try to bring home, like, swag for my kids.
Yeah.
So, like, anything that I end up getting where people are like, yo, you want a t-shirt? I'm like, do you have that in a men's small? Like, you know, like,
see, my thing is all about, do you have that as a hat? Because my 4-year-old is obsessed with hats.
Nice.
And we have a collection, like, I think, like 75 hats at this point for this freaking 4-year-old.
It is possible I might bring my family to one of the future PAXs.
I'm looking into West with my wife, but that's a whole separate thing.
But that's the kind of thing you logistics your way through that kind of stuff.
Yep.
My grandma always asks me, "How was the Comic-Con?" Whenever
how was the
Comic-Con?
Comic-Con, not
was
just
there funnies?
Yeah.
My father-in-law has the same question every single time. Did you make money this time? That's not
how it works.
That's not what this is about.
If you're in this for money, then you're not going to get anywhere.
But he asks me every time, did you make money at this event? No, the events are not about money. Did you sleep with anyone? Your daughter wasn't. What? Why are you asking me this? That's literally every single time, but it's a test, of course.
The first year of graduate school, I did a presentation on video games as art. And I had to argue with this really pretentious teacher, and I was like, and the devs really aren't, and some of the devs really aren't in it for the money, and he gave me an F because he was like, how could art not be about capitalism?
Yes.
Oh boy.
I think we're getting to the end of our time now, so I just want to go down the line. Tell people about where they can find you, stuff you do. So Derek, let's start with you.
So I'm Derek Van Dyke. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Derek of the Dykes, and you can catch me on Superform Gamescast or SDGC, which is on Twitter and Twitch as official SDGC. And we do like a weekly news roundup of what we consider the most important topics. We take kind of a more openly, like, progressive spin on the social side of things. We try to have a very inviting community to, like, I'm queer, so it's really important that we're very important to, like and open to other queer people coming in. For example, although you should always be intersectional in your openness. But so we try to be a very, like, inviting and personal small news kind of roundup show. And that's, like I said, that's official SDGC on Twitter and Twitch.
Awesome. Christine?
And I am Miss Smallest Burb. You can find me on Twitter at Smallest Burb. I also write for a very lovely website, Gaming Access Weekly. You can find us on Twitter called Weekly, GAWEKLY. I am also here at PAX with Mage Quit at booth 10085. Come find us.
Awesome. And then Dan, how about yourself?
I'm Dan from Adult Swim Games, and you can find me at Raven. That's not Raiden or Raiden, and it is not a reference to any video games. It's a long story. If you mispronounce it, incorrectly, like this guy always does, we'll be able to get over that. You can also find me at Adult Swim Games on Twitter and Twitch and Mixer, and I'm the person who's behind that glorious channel. So. Yeah,
I don't know if you're allowed to use the term glorious on this.
It's glorious. Justin ain't here yet, man. Get off the plane, Justin.
Can we also find you at the Jazz Club?
I will not be at the Jazz Club. I'll be on a party boat tomorrow, though, so that's the thing.
Woo. Party boats. Woo. Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of a spiel now. So thank you all.
Here we go.
We're going to do the spiel, yeah. So thank you all for joining us in this special edition of the Constantly Calibrating podcast. You can find the show on our return live weekly on mixer.com/ConCalPod. And just about every podcast service, iTunes, Spotify, you name it. ConCalPod is on Facebook at facebook.com/ConstantCalibrating, Twitter at ConCalPod. I'm at Bear Punch if you want to look me up on Twitter. I think it's all been below our this whole time. Instagram.com/console calibrating. You can most importantly check our Discord. We're talking about communities and putting things together and stuff like that. Discord, so consolecalibrating.com/Discord. We always mean to do giveaways. There are some coming up soon on our return from hiatus, because here's the thing, we've kind of been on hiatus for a little bit. Coming back strong, new websites in development, which, as I said, consolecalibrating.com.
And don't forget to consult your doctor or physician before consuming this content.
Are you on Reddit though?
No, we're actually not. I still don't understand. I still do not understand.
Why no Reddit memes?
Hey, are you on GeoCities?
I still have an old GeoCities website probably in existence somewhere in the internet.
Yo, Angel Fire, shout outs.
I used to design websites for fun as Josh's
There's nothing fun about designing websites.
I still like it, actually. I really wish I was better at it.
Finish your spiel.
My spiel. So finally, please make sure if you're listening to somewhere, you find us somewhere, please leave reviews. iTunes, Spotify help the most. It's just, people don't understand quite how well that helps get stuff in front of people. And yeah, with that, I guess we bid you all a good sign-off. Thank you all, and thank you all for to Versus Evil for letting us take the stage and do this whole thing. It was a blast.
Now I can put these back on.
More pews.
Pew 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 pew.
Do we dab now?
No, I hope not. But
there will be no dabbing. We spoke to production about the lack of dabbing.
Shut me off now.
We are a dabless podcast. So thank you all for watching. It's been a blast.
All right.
Yep.